we want to thank you for taking time out of your Monday to be with us. For those of you tuning in, we see Bradley every Tuesday with the city of Glendale. He's actually part of Glendale's community development, or head of Glendale's community development. A lot of things go through you and obviously through the city council before it basically is built up at this point. So there's a lot of questions that we have. Obviously, there's a lot of questions people are going to have. One of the main things that we want to talk about is these apartment building or condominiums, or what else was it? It was affordable housing, quote unquote, that wants to be built all over Montrose and Glendale. So we want to really dive into that right away. Yeah. And whether it's debunking the myth or actually bringing it to light at this point. So what's going on? Because what the city of Glendale has been saying is completely different than what people online have been saying.
It has been two very different conversations, and thank you for having me here with you guys this evening. And that is really kind of what we want to address. We've been doing some additional public meetings to discuss this, but we are hearing, I think a lot of narratives have been going around, or some information that is upsetting people because they're worried. They're worried about what their community is going to look like. They're worried about what their neighborhood is going to look like. So I guess if I started from the beginning, we are working on a project that we call the land use element. And the best way I can describe that in kind of layman's terms, it's a 50,000 foot level, kind of, this is what we want our community to look like in the future, usually 30 years, 40 years ahead of time. We typically put some sort of classifications on our properties based on how they would be used, what they could be used for. And we haven't updated this in about 30 years. And that's a bit of a problem because you want that to align with other elements, what's part of the general plan, which kind of dictates the city's growth. As part of that, we are looking at a number of properties, even some right around where we are today, of potential changes in how they could be used or the amount of building that could go on there. As part of that, we are looking at some of the city parcels as well. We have a lot of vacant parking lots around the city. And what we do during this period is we look at what could potentially go there, but that doesn't mean that it would go there, right? We're studying. We do this with a lot of different community plans where we basically come up with some ideas or theories of what could happen. We run it through a study to understand if that could even happen. And then there's another layer of policy that comes later on for it that actually could create those regulations that could allow or not allow certain things to occur. And we're many steps back from that right now. Right now, we're looking at what could potentially happen, but not necessarily what will happen. And we're out there getting public feedback on some of these proposals and considerations because we want to know whether or not it's something that's liked or disliked. But there's also a number of different components as to why we study these. I'll jump straight to the point, the ones that have been concerning.
Well, before you go to that one, why parking lots? Because as it is right now, especially in downtown Glendale, parking is a massive issue. I get it. We got a bunch of parking structures here and there. From the Americana to the Glendale Galleria, and obviously parking structures over on Artsakh, and then obviously there's the other one right next to the Galleria as well. But anytime you pull into those parking structures, you're driving around for at least 20, 30 minutes looking for parking, especially the free parking structures. So now that there's talks of going after parking lots and building there, is the infrastructure ready for that? Are the people ready for that?
And that is exactly what this study would consider. But I would actually go a couple steps before that. Look, we're not planning to build anything there right now. Right now, we're studying what could potentially occur there. But it doesn't mean that's what will happen, right? That is something that's really important I want to make note of. I know that there's been a lot of comments in the community that we already have a proposal in our hand for one of the parking lots in Montrose that we're going to build, I think it's 500 public housing units. None of these things are actually happening. We are looking at potential future development, if that could happen, or zoning changes that could maybe permit some sort of development, future zoning changes, actually. That's not even what's on the table right now. In part of this study looks at what those impacts would be. Could our infrastructure system handle a change? Even if it's a modest change, can the traffic system handle it? Can our power handle it? Can our water handle it? Can public safety's response times handle it? And that's where we are right now. We're studying that. But all of the things regarding that there's a definite development proposal, that we're putting all these affordable housing units on there, that is not true. That is not what we're looking at. That's not what we're considering. Right now, that property already has a residential zoning on it. if we're talking about the large lot in Montrose, for example, it already is zoned for, I believe it's R3050. So
And where is it located exactly? Right,
that would be on Florencita.
Okay.
Right behind kind of the main strip there in Honolulu in Montrose.
Yeah.
It already has a residential zoning classification to it. R3050 is what we call it, one dwelling unit for every 300 or 3,050 square feet. But the city, we don't have an interest in actually developing it. Part of what we're doing here is we're also trying to show, one of the things we're concerned about, I would say, is that we have seen kind of a scope creep from the state in terms of putting regulations, rules, policies on our plate that we don't really have a say in. Density bonus is a good one, right? Being able to add, 50% or more to what was already allowed to be built there before. SB 79 has been a big point of conversation lately. AB 2097, which basically allows projects to get away with no parking. And while some of these bills and some of these rules and regulations may be well intended, they're not tailored for each specific city, right? They're not allowing us to retain local control in a lot of ways. And what we're doing is we're looking at this kind of consideration of what's an overlay zoning for some of these properties, is trying to be out in front of the state, if you will.
So what if you were to push back on the city and say, hey, listen, our infrastructure is not ready for this? Because truly, I don't think it is. As somebody who's been living in Glendale for 35 years, you see our utilities continue to climb. You see the traffic continue to increase. And now we're talking about moving this to Montrose. Montrose is a phenomenal area. It's a quiet neighborhood. Everybody knows everybody. And all of a sudden you want to bring in, and again, this is allegedly, but or talks of it, affordable housing in an area where it's like, dude, just leave that area alone. As it is, it does get busy in Montrose, especially when there's events going on. The cruise nights, or not the cruise nights, the Oktoberfest and all this stuff.
The farmers market.
Yeah, the farmers market that goes on. Now you're gonna build. How many units did they say that they were talking about?
Well, we've heard 500. If I can also add on to that, the overlay that we're looking at would, right now you could build with the current zoning about 27 units, I think 29. With what we're proposing, not even proposing for development, it's just what we're studying. Actually, let me be very clear about that. I think it would be 87.
So why not push back to the state and say, hey, listen, we're not ready for this infrastructurally?
The state's not pushing us to do that now. What we're worried about is that they may come in and start putting some of those heavy-handed regulations on us for our own properties that are, in their mind, not being utilized.
So the one that you're referring to as the city's properties, is that the Surplus Land Act that
that's part of the conversation too.
Is that what it is? Because how many of these, is it 16 or how many land?
I think it's a total of 16 if I'm not mistaken.
That the city owns, and the state of California is trying to push the SLA so that you guys can develop these, right?
When we did our declaration of surplus land prior to our council session, I believe that was in March of 2025, we had been talking with some real estate and economic consultants who work with the state often with SLA. And they had actually expressed concern to us that, look, from his experience, the state changes these rules every 90 days. Try to declare these as surplus land now, so hopefully that you're grandfathered in on the older rules, because we essentially wouldn't want to see them make it worse for us, right? More units, denser, more affordable units, and not those are necessarily bad things. Again, it's an approach that's not tailored to us, right? It's a statewide blanket approach. I typically refer to it as a hatchet approach rather than a scalpel.
Did you enjoy that clip? Click over here to watch the full episode, and click over here to subscribe to the WiseNuts podcast YouTube channel.